It's recording.
Welcome, everyone. This is MSC Donna Otten-Sweeney. Welcome to our Shine Call. We started a conversation with the directors on Monday, and this has been a thread you've heard us talk a lot about, but we're going to be doing some more training and discussions about coaching. You know, what coaching is, what coaching is not. You've heard me give a lot of sports analogies with my husband having been a collegiate athlete, and then he now is a strength and conditioning coach for youth athletes. For the last 29 years of marriage, have learned a lot about coaching from watching 50 million football games and other athletic activities, but also just the mentality of coaching. You know, everything he was taught from his dad and his high school and college coach, and now what he studies about coaching and trains. And what I came to find in my Mary Kay business, probably, you know, it wasn't at the very beginning. I was probably, you know, maybe a decade into my business, so I had been a director for a while and was successful as a director. At that time, I was a trip director. But I think because we recruit a lot of teachers and nurses in Mary Kay, and we talk a lot about teaching. We teach skincare, and so there was more analogies to teaching or, you know, business or serving than to coaching. And what I found to be very helpful, and I guess, you know, those of you who are plugged into the Shine, obviously, you know, some are already sales directors, but those of you who are consultants, you're already a leader. God's wired you to be a leader, or you wouldn't be drawn to us four as nationals who have been million-dollar directors and nationals that, you know, feel called to pass this baton and strengthen the foundation as our company transitions from this 53 years to the next 53 years. But you, if I, at your stage, had this picture of coaching, I would have made a lot of different choices in my team building as I was building my car team, as I was building my unit, and as a new director, because a coach makes different choices than a teacher. A teacher is responsible for teaching the people that are in that classroom for that term, that year. And honestly, you got to get so many of those people to pass, or you're going to lose your job, or your school's going to lose its rating, et cetera. Whereas a coach, so a teacher's more like a manager. You have these people, and it's these set people, and you got to get these people to get, you know, to this grade level. Whereas a coach has tryouts, you know, yearly, or goes out and recruits all year long, the higher up the level is, and they work with who shows up to practice. And so they're not responsible for the same group all the time, but they are responsible for making sure that that group wins as a team. And if they don't have the people on that team, they got to go out and find them. So a coach works with the people who show up at practice, whereas in Mary Kay, practice is you as a consultant showing up at your success meeting, where your coach is holding practice. Your coach is your sales director. As a sales director, your coach is your national sales director. So showing up on Shine calls, that's the extra training. Those are for the people that, you know, they want more than just showing up at the regular practice. They're the kids that go to my husband. They're doing their regular practice. They're doing their travel sports, but then they're showing up for the extra coaching to have the extra edge. That's you that are in Shine. But again, you know, we are coaching those that show up. And we're not, you know, sitting here saying, okay, let's hold off on the Shine call. I'm going to, you know, look through my list and see who's on and see who's not, and then I'm going to call them and find out why they're not here. The coach does not go and grab the kid off the couch playing Xbox. The coach works with the people who are there. So that's what coaching is. And we live in a day and age now that life coaching and, you know, some are business coaches, it's gotten to be very popular and very profitable. And so you have people coaching you that may never have built your business before. They generally haven't, and when you're paying them. And, what I find to be, continuingly encouraging and amazing to me is how Mary Kay's company continues to be so right for the times when the times continue to change more and more quickly. Like in Mary Kay, you don't need to go out and hire a business coach or a life coach. Mary Kay Inc. pays your sales director to be your business and life coach and your national sales director to be your business and life coach. And the best news is they've already had a proven that they could do it well. They could do it with excellence. And so you have a coach that knows what they're doing. Like Mary Kay Inc. pays for them. And so, it really is an ingenious system. An alarming trend we're seeing is people reaching outside. And I'm not saying that, there's not a reason to get counseling, professional counseling when you need it. And I've used outside resources at different times in my business, but like to learn more about the DISC or something like that. But it's not anyone that I've paid exorbitant amounts of money for. And I wasn't relying on that person to teach me anything that someone in Mary Kay could teach me. And so, us four, we're really passionate about, teaching you what coaching looks like. I just explained coaching to you, and I know for myself as I was building my car team, my unit, that perspective as a coach helped me evaluate where to invest time. And then I needed to know with the ones that I was investing time, how did that look in the beginning of someone's business? We have the Perfect Start, Power Start, the Pearls, the STAR program. You have On Target Car, you have DIQ. But what else, like how do you coach people in between those steps, or if those steps are not nice and orderly? That's where I was finding that I was getting frustrated as a leader and as a coach. And so, honestly, at a point of frustration, I was, probably just crying out to the Lord. I probably should have cried out to him sooner versus later, but, I don't get it. I don't know how to help these people with the perfect start, perfect stop. That they want to earn a car, but they're so frustrated, and they're telling me that they're doing all this activity, and they are booking things, they're just not holding, and they don't have anyone to book, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was frustrated, and so I need a way to help get people from here to there. And so the formula that if you've been on Push or Shine for any length of time, you've heard me share, I really do believe that the Lord gave me that. That was something that he clearly gave me that I have used. I used then to build, $1 million units in a national area, and still use today in coaching women from here to there. Here is wherever they're at right now, and there is wherever they want to go. And the speed at which they move is totally up to them. They determine that by their choices. So hopefully that analogy of the difference between a teacher and a coach or a manager and a coach is helpful for you. But the formula that, that the Lord gave me that I use in my business, and you're going to hear me reference, is number one is numbers. And if you have pen and paper, I'd jot this down or listen to the playback. Number one, numbers. Number two, target market. Number three, skills/systems. And four, you. What I have found is that women, when they are frustrated with their Mary Kay business, not getting the results that they want, which may be you right now, the first thing that you look at is yourself. What's wrong with me? Why, she's getting here, I'm not. Maybe it isn't God's will. Maybe it's not his timing. Maybe I misunderstood, or we blame the recruiter, blame the director, blame the city you live in, blame the economy, blame the president, blame. So either you blame something outside of you or something inside of you, but it's you. And then if you get done beating yourself up, then you'll go to the point, well, maybe I just need to learn more, so I need more skill. And so some of you have been in the PUSH program and the SHINE program the whole time because you feel like what you need is to learn more. And learning is never out for the pro, but if you don't put activity behind the learning, it only increases your knowledge, and knowledge without increased activity gives you increased frustration. So the point of that is not listening to the Shine Call. It's not going to career conference. When people say, oh, I don't need to go to another event, I know what I need to do, I just need to do it. Obviously something hasn't clicked and you're not doing it. You need to be at that event because you got to hear something that your heart changes, that you will be willing to, something in your head and heart changes enough that you'll be willing to discipline yourself to do the activity necessary. But when people get done beating up themselves, they'll go to, I need to learn more. And so they go, what do people do when they don't know what to do with their life? They go back to school. So we go back to Mary Kay School. Directors, it's generally systems. That's why I say skills/systems. As you continue to build your business, systems are like housekeeping. It frees you up to give you more time. Helping out with your kids, getting your mirrors and trays, cleaned and rotated for the next party. Get your customer cards onto my customer. Stuff like that are systems. And then once people get past the point of, I need to change my system, directors will change their training packet, their success meeting, et cetera. Consultants say they need more training. After they get past that, then they'll start to look at, maybe it's the people on my team. Maybe it's the customers I'm working with. They're not in the right target market. Mary Kay's target market to get company average results are women who hit 3 out of these 5 marketing statistics. They're 25 to 55 years old. They own a home. They're married. They have children. They have some education. When women hit 3 out of 5 of those, you will sell skincare to 50% of them, skincare sets. You'll recruit 1 out of 5. Now, there's exceptions to the rule. But, for instance, when my daughter started the business and she was in college, I said, if you're going to work with college students, most college students, it's not because of their age. They don't hit 3 out of those 5 marketing statistics. A traditional college student that's 18 to 22 years old. So if they don't hit the target market, you have to have more. That's business. That's marketing. This is not personal. It's totally objective. So I look at when I was building my business, I wish I would have known this because when I was building my business in Douglas, Arizona and earning my car, I had to do a lot more numbers, a lot more faces, a lot more interviews. I had a lot more people on my team than the other people in Debbie Moore's unit that were in Chagrin Falls outside of Cleveland. Totally different demographic. I didn't have very many target market people to work with in Douglas, Arizona on the Mexican border. And half of them didn't understand what I was saying. So if people get past beating themselves up, then they'll go to skill, I need to learn more. Then they'll start to change who they work with. And the last thing they address are numbers. I put numbers 1 because really if you want to change where you're at in your business and evaluate where you're at in your business, you've got to start at the top, looking at numbers first. And numbers are, I want you to look at the last 90 days because you're reaping now what you did 90 days ago. The last 90 days, how many new leads have you brought into your business? How many faces? Target market faces. If they're not target market, don't count them, even though you could have sales with them and they're still a person in a face. Don't count them unless they're a target market face. How many target market faces have you put the product on in the last 90 days? How many people have you personally talked to about the opportunity in the last 90 days? And then as DIQs, they look at how many people they're talking to for their team also. So you look at your numbers. You guys, when you're frustrated with your business, the first place, or when I'm coaching someone, the first thing we're going to look at are the numbers. Because we could talk about you and growth in you. We can talk about skills, and we can talk about target market. But if you haven't done the numbers, you're still not going to get the results, no matter if you work in the target market and you have the best skills in the world and you're right on track with, where God needs you to be for the leadership position He's calling you to. So, the numbers piece, this gave me handles to be able to coach people with, but it's not canned. By canned, I mean when I have been at coaching seminars with trained life coaches or business coaches, they will give you say this, and then they say this. You say this, they say this. You say this, they say this. Because I've never taught recruiting that way. I can give you kind of an outline, but the most important thing is, you got to build a relationship with this person, and you got to listen to what she's asking and answer questions and help her with encouragement and transference of knowledge and facts. But we got to, individualize it. This gave me enough of a formula that I can then individualize it, but we still have a basic foundation to work with. And so, the point of coaching, too, is that you get to the point where you can coach yourself through those things and coach other people. The point is that you're not always reliant on your director for all the answers. In fact, sometimes, it's good that you can't get a hold of your director or you can't get a hold of your national, and you have to figure some things out on your own, because that's where confidence is grown. And then when you have your conversations with her, you own something, because even when someone tells you something, you still don't own it until you walk it out. So I wanted to give you that formula, because now what you're going to get to do is you get to eavesdrop in a couple of coaching conversations. I picked two of my consultants. One just finished up with CAR and director qualification, but I'm coaching her as a consultant on this call, not as a sales director. And then the other is has earned her CAR and is in her last month of director qualifications. Both of them, we're due to have a coaching conversation. And so I said, would you mind doing this and letting everyone listen in to this? So this is not canned. There's been no prep here. I have no idea where this conversation is going to go to, just like I have no idea where any coaching conversation is going to go to. Because it's not my job to manipulate that or to alter that. My job is to listen and answer. And my prayer through this is that from the answers, there's things that you can apply and learn, but also it gives you confidence that you can coach women up the career path. I mean, recruiting is coaching. Really, you're coaching them to look at things a different way, looking at how to do life and work and life balance a different way. And if they decide to buy in on it, then great. They're a new team member, and then you get to coach them up the career path with the help and the guidance of your director and your national. That's the same thing in the business. I gave you that formula because both Andrea and Susan are very well aware of this formula. Women that I work with, they know that, I'm going to be referring back in this conversation potentially to this formula. So I want you to know, what they've been taught as they've been building their business, because that then the rules of the game that they've been playing with. But in this coaching conversation, again, I just said, when I go to a coaching call, it's, okay, you get to pick the topics, go. What can we talk about? So both of them got to pick the topics, and afterwards I'm going to may ask them a few more questions, but I'm hoping that this is valuable for everyone that listens. So I'm going to have Andrea start off. And Andrea, if you'll share with everyone your before, now, future story, so they know a little bit more about you, and then just like we would in other coaching calls that we've done, fire away with questions. What topics and questions do you want to talk about?
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dawn. I'm Andrea Weaver, and I live in Waycross, Georgia. I've been building my Mary Kay business for a year, and prior to Mary Kay, right out of high school, I went to college to be a music major and found out very quickly that didn't work for me. So all in my 20s, the entire time in my 20s, I worked for an attorney. I was a legal assistant, and I really loved doing that job. I was a very good employee. But he died. He was older when he hired me, and he died after probably about 8 years, and so I just decided to go back to college. I went back to school to be a teacher. So I taught high school English for 6 years, and I had a second child, what I considered was late in life, so I just really wanted to stay home with her because I knew she would be the last one. So I stayed home with her, and I taught piano lessons for another 5 years. I never really, I wasn't looking for a career change. I loved teaching piano. I loved spending time with the kids and pouring into them, watching them grow. That I really did enjoy that. Honestly, I always thought I'd go back to teaching school. A friend asked me to go to a Mary Kay event to be a face model, and I went. I was offered, the opportunity, and I said, no, thank you. I'm not looking for anything different. But the next day, I learned more information. I talked with the director further the next day, and I just felt a pull to just to join the Mary Kay family. And then once I started to walk it out, and I just fell in love with the culture, and it changed my life completely. So my future story is I've just earned my car. At the end of this month, I will be sales director, and we've called our unit the Grace Team because we are genuine, resourceful, always coachable women of excellence.
I love it. I didn't know that was the name of your team.
Yeah.
Okay, so Andrea, what topics can we talk about? What questions? Where do you want to take this conversation?
I loved what you said in the beginning about teachers and coaches because that was exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. When I was a teacher, when I was a high school teacher, I taught high school English, and so we were on semester, and I had the kids for half a year. The Georgia high school graduation test was a huge element in everything that I taught. So every skill that I taught these kids, I knew would be on that test, and these kids had to try so hard to fail my class because if they failed a test, I guess it's a tenacious nature that I have, but I couldn't let it go. I would pull them in small groups. We would do tutoring. I would retest them, and then if they still failed, we would do the same thing again. And they kept on until they passed the test because these were skills that they had to have. And I could do that because I had that position, but how do I not do that to my team members? When I meet women and I recruit women that are sharp and they have so much potential and they just don't receive what I say. And there again, the teacher and me, differentiation was it was a huge part of my life, figuring out their learning modality because I'm almost thinking, well, she doesn't get it. I'm saying this and she doesn't get it. Let me say it in a different way. Let me do it different. Let me send her an email. Let me send her a picture. I don't know where to draw the line without,
and that is such a great, that is such a great example. And again, you didn't know what I was going to talk about, and I didn't know what you were going to talk about tonight. But obviously someone needs to hear this, and we need to talk about it. So we do have so many teachers, and teachers come in with, and even parents, we do the same thing. Like teachers and parents, you have that group, and that group isn't changing. With your kids, it's like, this kid really is, not listening well, so I'm going to get a different kid. Like that is not how it works. So we're kind of, if you've been used to parenting, used to managing, used to teaching, and now we come into coaching, and it's very different. And so it's, I think I'm going to give you an example from Henry Cloud because he's written a couple of great books. Necessary Endings is a fantastic book for entrepreneurs. Boundaries, a lot of people like. He is he's spoken at Global Leadership Summit a couple times with Bill Hybels. He's a clinical psychologist and works with a lot of business people. And at a conference I was at a few summers ago, he goes, I need to deal with this topic. He goes, because inevitably every time that I do a conference, someone will raise their hand and say, what do I do about this one person? She's the sharpest, cookie in the cookie jar. She is so sharp, so professional. She has so much potential. kind of what you just said. So much potential, but she's not, like, I can't get her to get it. What am I doing wrong? And I hear that so often from our leadership team in Mary Kay, because people who want to be sales directors, who are our sales directors, want to be national sales directors, they want to help people. Like, this is how we're wired. We do this because we want to help people get from here to there. But he said, he goes, I don't like to categorize people. He goes, but God does it in the Bible, and so I'm going to tell you what he says. He goes, I have found that there's 3 categories of people. One's wise, one's foolish, and one's dangerous/evil. He said for the dangerous and evil, you need lawsuits and weapons. And luckily in Mary Kay, so far I haven't needed the lawsuits and weapons. But my husband was in law enforcement, so I understand the lawsuits and weapons. We did both of those when he was in law enforcement. He said the wise, he goes, those are the people that when you present them with the truth, when they hear the truth, they immediately turn to it. They're like, okay, yeah, like I'm convicted. I'll make that change. I'm moving on. Yep, I'm heading towards the light. He goes, they're the easy ones. He goes, the foolish ones, he goes, those are the ones that have all the potential. He goes, but you present the truth with them, and then they generally start to blame. They blame something outside of themselves, like, yeah, I really need the money, but I don't have time. Saying that you don't have time, saying that you don't have money, saying it's your husband, saying it's your kids, saying those are blaming something external to you. And he goes, the foolish will always blame something external to them. And he said, so your job is to give the foolish a couple opportunities to become wise. Because some people are foolish because they've never heard different. Like, no one's told them. That's a victim stance. Like, that's the blame game. That's not personal responsibility and choice. That's victim and blame. And so in living in this world, it's really easy just to continue on as a victim because very few people will point it out to you. I mean, it's the TV, the media, teachers, churches, politicians. It's, it's nothing's your fault. It's blame, blame, blame. Everything's blame. And so he said your job is to give them a couple opportunities to turn to the truth, and if they don't, then you have to move on because otherwise it becomes an issue of how you're stewarding your time. And God's called you with the vision, not them. And when he said that, I just went, oh my gosh, because we can look at that formula. You can look at your formula, am I working with the numbers? And am I working in the target market? And, do I have the right skill? But when we are doing those things and they still aren't, reacting to it or moving forward, or their actions aren't matching up with their words, then it becomes, God's going to call you when you stand before him. What did you, Andrea, do with the gifts and talents, the time and the vision I gave you? And when you say, oh, look, this one, she was really sharp, and, I was just trying to send her the other email, say it a different way, say it over and over and over again. And, time spent with one person is time taken away from the next. And all of us only have a limited amount of time. And so, what you're called to and the people you're called to impact is so critically important that you can't afford to, like you could with the teaching, go back and back and back to get them to pass that test. They may never pass the test, but you got to pass the test because there's a lot on the line for you to pass the test. And so when he said that, it made it, okay, like that's pretty clear. If that's what God's saying, then I got to listen to it, and I know what he's called me to, and with your grace team what he's called you to. So you got to look for the women who are they're being coachable. I mean, that's right in your name, and they're saying by not responding, they're not willing, they're not coachable. It doesn't mean they may never be, but you're not. Those are the people you put on your email list. You put them on your unit Facebook page. You keep them in the loop because maybe someday they'll wake up and go, oh, my gosh, people do wake up. Stuff happens. Life changes. So maybe they will wake up, but in the meantime, you are investing your time out there in those new parties, the new interviews, and working with, there's the new, the few, and you. Those are the three that you invest 80% of your time in. In any organization, 20% of the people produce 80% of the results. So you want 80% of your time spent in the 20%, which is you, the new, and the few. Is it helpful to look at that wise and then foolish and then dangerous?
Yes, very. That's very helpful to me, especially when you put it in, put it into that perspective. You give them a couple of chances to move toward the truth, and then if they don't, then I have to account for my time. Yeah, that's extremely helpful. Yes.
Yep. And you still love them. Your love
is
totally unconditional, but your time is very conditional.
Okay. Okay. Do I have time for another question?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, I know that not everyone does what they say they'll do, but how do you move through the disappointments? For example, when you have a sharp recruit and she's planning to come in with a inventory one day and the next day, no, I can't do it now. I've changed my mind. How do you move through that disappointment and frustration?
Okay. So learning to deal with people not doing what they say they're going to do, I have found that when I am doing the numbers that I'm supposed to do, so when you're putting the products on, for what your goals are, to be a director, car driver, do this as your job, then the goal is at least 15 target market faces a week. Mary Kay's 3 + 3 + 3. So I have found in my business that when I'm putting the products on 60 faces a month, I honestly don't have enough time to pay much attention to the people who aren't doing what they say they're going to do. If I'm booking enough appointments so that half will hold, I don't really have enough time to be disappointed or frustrated with the ones that cancel because I just have enough time to do the ones that hold. And then when I'm interviewing 5 people for every one that I want, and I'm, making sure that when I'm facialing people, the interview and the decision for the starter kit and the inventory conversation and getting going are all real close together. Those aren't spread out over days and days and days and weeks. So when I'm doing the numbers, I go back to that formula, I find that I don't have the time to be disappointed and frustrated. I only have enough time to work with the people who want to work and are actually, matching up their actions with their words. There's in our business, it's a lot like ministry. I mean, I remember Mary Kay sharing, people are gonna they're really gonna hurt you, but serve and love them anyways. And people are gonna disappoint and frustrate you, and serve and love them anyways. Like she had it was a poem, a whole saying, and I should try and find it about all these different situations, and you still love them, and you still, you serve them anyways, but obviously you invest your time accordingly. But I think when I have the coaching, keep the coaching perspective, when I am working my numbers, when I'm keeping myself at a healthy place, I know when I'm in, God's Word and I'm clear on what He's called me to do, I have a better perspective on, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. You feel like, you're forward focused and you're doing what you need to do, but then you can coach them without their choices emotionally impacting you. Their choices tell me where to invest my time, not how to feel. Because if you think about it right now, you're building a unit to 24, if 24 people can, rustle our feathers and disappoint and frustrate us, imagine what 100's going to do. And, I know people that they're like, these 2 people are making me crazy. How could I stand having a red jacket? 3 are really going to make me nuts. So first off, we got to make sure we're set. And I find in the morning, I got to get in the Word, and I have to turn technology off. I cannot even glance at my phone. I can't glance at Boxer. Like, once I get sucked into that, then I find that the day just runs on. And it takes me only about 24 hours, and I go back to my fleshy Dawn, myself, and you go back to home base, and whatever home base is for you. I mean, home base for me is controlling. Like, as a D, I want to take control back of the universe. That's what, I will do. And that's not a good place for me to be, for anyone around me or for me to be. And so I have to spend that time in God's Word, and I have to exercise on a regular basis. And then when I do that, I can keep that perspective that I'm their coach. And so if they do, great. I get to cheer them on and encourage them. They come to practice, awesome. They're out there in the field, they're out there in the game winning. I'm cheering them on. I'm so excited for them. But if they're not, I'm not disappointed or frustrated. I'm figuring out, okay, does that mean I need another quarterback? So I got to go and find my other quarterback, or is there someone out there on the bench that's ready to go out there and play? So keeping my mind, on that coaching analogy, making sure I'm working my numbers, staying in God's Word, it helps me stay focused forward, like the band leader, the marching band, you're marching forward and they're following you and you're leading the ones that are following you versus being the orchestra leader who's turning around and leading, looking at them. You think of Moses and, he only got to go as far as standing on a mountaintop looking into the promised land. He never was allowed to go into the promised land. And it's because he turned around and he got so angry at the people, he lost his opportunity because of their choices. His anger then, God chose to not let him go into the promised land. And I think some leaders never get to the promised land because they get so tied up in the emotions based on their people's choices. My emotions, my choice in how I invest my time is based on other people's choices. My emotions aren't. And that way, then, you could see how you could build a unit of 100. You could build to 100 directors and still be not on a roller coaster emotionally and be able to get to where God's called you to be.
Wow, that's awesome. So, okay, that's great. So I have to lead myself first with the Word and exercise and keep the coaching mindset. Okay, yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for helping out tonight.
Yep, glad to do it.
Excited for you to be brand new sales director.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay, Susan, I'm going to turn this over to you to do a before, now, and future, and then what questions and topics do you want to talk about?
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dawn. I've already learned so much just from listening to you. I've been jotting down notes, and you've already spoken to some things that I needed some clarity on. But I'll share my story. My name is Susan Hudson, and I live here in Brunswick, Georgia. And before Mary Kay, I have been in ministry with my husband for over 20 years now, and also teaching. I've been in and out of the classroom for 20 years. So teaching and ministry are really my passion, my heart, and really my calling. And so I had no intention to ever become a businesswoman. That was not even on my radar. But it's amazing as I look back and I just see the path that God's taken me down. Right before Mary Kay, and I've been in Mary Kay for almost 2 years now. And right before Mary Kay, I was actually just seeking the Lord and just knowing in my heart that I wanted to do more. And not saying I wasn't content, but there was just something in my heart calling for more. And our family always prays the prayer of Jabez and that one phrase that he would enlarge our territory is just something that has really been a prayer of mine, that he would just give me, a way just to reach out and further his kingdom, and also just to bless my family and just to do maybe a little more than what I had been doing. Well, anyway, make a long story short, I sat down, did a facial with the lady who's now my amazing senior director, but she did a facial with me, and a couple of days later she offered me the opportunity, and I said no thank you because I'm so busy and I wear so many hats. There's no way I could ever do this, and plus, like I said, Mary Kay was just so far off my radar. Selling cosmetics and skincare was not something I ever pictured myself doing, but it was I know that now it's a God thing because I thought about it, chatted about it with my husband, and I signed the agreement. And I was so full of fear to start off. I just look back and I see how fear-filled I was to try something so out of the box for me. But I did. I started just walking it out step by step. And here I am. Oh my goodness, this past month was amazing. And I just earned my car, and I just became a sales director. And I am so excited and thankful and just humbled at the journey God's placed me on and the opportunity that I have now to mentor women and to bring them to a place of success and blessing in their own lives and for their families. And I just tell them Mary Kay is for them, for their dreams, whatever God has placed in their heart, financial, or whether it's the culture of awesome women they need to be surrounded by, or maybe just put some self-confidence in their own heart. Whatever it is, I just really believe Mary Kay is just a God-given vehicle for so many things. And so I am just excited and thrilled for this opportunity, and I'm very, very grateful that Mary Kay came into my life, very much so. So, okay, Dawn, now my question for you is, and I'm thinking back as I've walked the career path, and I remember really feeling this right when I became a Red Jacket, as you start off your Mary Kay business, you are focusing on your own personal business. You're focusing on sales and bookings and that kind of thing. Then once you start moving into leadership, you start getting more responsibility as far as helping your team and encouraging your team and managing your team, and use that word manage, coaching your team. And as you continue to walk that career path, the responsibilities can become a little overwhelming. And I'm thinking about, besides building your own personal business and doing your own personal interviews, you're helping your team do their interviews and building their business and, all those different things, reaching out to customers, keeping your customer base satisfied. So my question for you is, how do you manage the different responsibilities? What should my primary focus be? And what is the order of importance, to doing it all successfully?
Okay. And that is always dependent on where you're at. So, specifically right now, as a new director, your responsibilities are a little bit different than Andrea's, who's a DIQ. And then someone who's listening, their responsibilities a little bit, different than, someone who's on target car or sales director or trip director, et cetera. So this is where coaching becomes critical, to have someone who's in the position that you want to be in, answering this question. I can, tell for the most of the people that are on the call right now, when you get into crunch times, unless it is the last hour of the month, your priority really at any of the places on the consultant career path, your number one priority is booking personal appointments. So what I recommend is that when you get into, and all of you right now are in crunch times for March, you may be in a crunch time to get your quarter wrapped up to be a star consultant, because that's a non-negotiable. Or it may be you're going on target for your car this month, or you're getting into DIQ this month. So the number one thing with all those different things that you've talked about, Susan, is booking. And so I recommend on a file card, write number one, booking. Mm-hmm. Number two, coach. Number three, personal recruit. or team recruiting. That's for DIQs. You don't start recruiting for your team until you're in DIQ. 5 is all else. And so, I mean, it's said that we live in an age of distraction, but we really do live in an age of distraction. There are so many distracting things around. So whenever, and this works for directors too, like when you want to grow, those directors who want to grow to their next car, they're working on their Cadillac, they're working on their Bumblebees, they're working on their unit clubs, they're working on, because whenever a director gets real focused in on this consultant piece of the business, it's always going to add on. It's like adding on a new unit because you're basically going to like push yourself through DIQ again and add on a new unit in addition to what you already have, and that's probably going to take you to the next car level or the next unit club, the trip, the million, or the finding the rest of the offspring directors. So I would put that booking, coaching, personal recruiting, team recruiting, all else. All else is like customer service, and all else also are a lot of, it's like returning calls to your team members, it's working with your team members, and it is all the other things that a lot of those things that's what you delegate out. That's systems. That's where you hire the teenager to do some of those things. That's where you get, the people to help you delegate out things so that you can free up more time for yourself. But literally put that list of 5, put it on your refrigerator, put it on your bathroom mirror, put it on your phone, on the, screensaver, put it on your computer, put it anywhere that you may be making a phone call, or because we do work in between all sorts of life and all different nooks and crannies. And so what you do then is that you know what your numbers are that you need. I mean, you know your numbers of faces you need to get the products on. You know the numbers of interviews that you have to do in that category. So when you are in your Mary Kay time, the first thing you look at is booking. Okay, so before you listen to Voxes or you look at Facebook or you look at email, you look at your date book. Do I have enough appointments in this next 10 days so that if half cancels, I have the bookings that I need? And if the answer is no, then before you do anything else, you spend time booking. And then if you can go down and you have the amount of appointments booked, then you coach those. And then you're either setting up your personal interviews or following up with your personal recruit. And then if you're in DIQ, again, it's following up and doing the recruiting through your team, and then the all else. And so what this means is that your training for your people happens at the success meeting. That's what a director does at a success meeting, has everyone come to them. You make Voxer list with your consultants, your team members on it, so you can communicate to all of them at once. I love Voxer for that. You bring people, recruit prospects and new consultants to your parties. Like people can, when you hear this little scenario, it makes it real clear why the idea of doing all your new people's first parties is ludicrous. I mean, that was never part of Mary Kay's marketing plan. Mary Kay and Daleen White, if they told me once, they told me 5 million times. You earn, will they learn? You earn, will they learn? So you take people to your appointments with you. That's how they learn how to do their business. That's how they learn how to do interviews. That's how they learn, that they need inventory. That's how they learn how to set up for parties. That's how they learn how to do advanced color appointments. That's how they learn product knowledge. That's how they learn. They come to success meetings. They come with you. And then there's still going to be a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't get done. But you guys, at the end of the day, if we're all honest, there's a whole list of stuff that doesn't get done. And so, but what is that list going to be? Is it going to be, like generally, again, let's look at this list. Generally, we start at all else. And then if we have time, then we'll recruit through our people. And then if we have more time, then we'll do some personal recruiting. And then if we have time, we'll coach those parties. And then if we have time left, we do booking. Mm-hmm. So just like the numbers, target market, skill, we do it in opposite order. And it hamstrings us. It doesn't serve us well. So try that, Susan. Try that, putting that in front of you, so that when you are in your Mary Kay time, you do your work in that order. What I have found is that when I play this game, at the end of the day, when I put my head in the pillow, my list isn't completed, but I have this sense of satisfaction because I feel traction. Like I feel like something got done. Whereas otherwise, in your Mary Kay business, you can be busy and you can be working, but you're like the rat on the wheel. You're going around in a circle. You don't feel like you're ever getting ahead. And so if you ever do feel like that, or if you're in times where time's really crunched, or you have goals that require that you get more done than you normally do, I always go back to putting those 5 things on a file card and keeping them with you whenever, you're in your Mary Kay time and doing things in that order. Play that game for a week and see how that goes. I think it'll make a difference.
That's great. Thank you so much. That definitely helps keep things in perspective, and I just needed that little tweaking to say, okay, this is what your priority is, and work it down from there. Mm-hmm. So that's great. Thank you. Is
there another question or topic that you wanted to talk about?
I think right now that's it. That's going to help me right now keep focused with what I need to do.
Okay, so I want you to do that for this week, and I want you to give me feedback on the results. I want to hear how that goes.
All right, okay? I will do it.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for, being willing to do these coaching calls, with people listening in. I know that there's a lot of consultants that are listening in, and they have goals in March to go on Target Car and into DIQ April 1st because they want to be getting their car keys on stage in Dallas. They want to be debuting on that seminar stage. Would you each, just in wrap-up, share, what's your best advice to them to be doing in March to help them, be debuting on the seminar stage with you both?
Sure. Andrea, do you want to go first?
I'll go first. I like to go first. I would say don't let anything stop you. If that is your desire, then you just have to go for it. You can't let anything stop you. When I was in Charlotte at Leadership Conference or Fall Retreat, I received word that my husband broke his leg while I was gone. So when I came home, I had already made up my mind that I was earning my car. And when I came home, life was different. It was upside down, and I had so much more responsibility than I had ever had. But there again, I have tenacity. I would not let it go. I had made up my mind that that's what I wanted to do, and it was not easy. And there were so many times I just wanted to throw in the towel, but I'd already made that commitment. So if that's what you truly want, then don't let it go. I mean, it's 4 months. You can do anything for 4 months. If you have to move heaven and earth to make it happen, it will be worth it.
Well, and Andrea, I'm not sure if they really caught that. Andrea was at our fall retreat in Charlotte, and while she was there, she got word that her husband was in a motorcycle accident and had broken his leg in multiple places. I mean, he had surgery, and months and months later was in a walker and rehab. So, there's a lot of women who will say, okay, well, this adversity happened, and so that means I'm not supposed to continue on. Because I will guarantee you that if you are clear and have made the decision that you are getting your car keys, you're going to be a new sales director by seminar, that all HE double toothpicks is going to break loose, and take that as a sign that you're headed in the right direction. That is definitely not a sign that you're not supposed to be heading that direction. And Andrea, I know she was going to be a top director, and I knew that she was going to get it done when I saw how she walked through that. So, do you know that there is qualifications? You can get done in a month, but Mary Kay has the qualifications set up. They're 1 to 4 months, because in a 2, 3, 4, even in a 1 month time period, life happens to all of us. How are you going to do with it? All of us have to figure out how to do this around life, and it comes down to your faith. Do you really believe if God put that dream and your goal in your heart, then, regardless of what happened, he still resourced it. Those women are out there. Your dreams are still attached to theirs. And, on the other side of it, you've gotten to take care of your husband and earn a car and build a unit all at the same time.
Yes, it wasn't easy, but it's done.
Was it worth it?
Absolutely. And my faith did play a tremendous role in that, because in my own strength, I couldn't have walked that out.
What advice do you have, Susan, for those that want to earn cars and become directors by seminar?
Well, absolutely what Andrea just said, the idea of perseverance. You're just going to have to make up your mind, and for me it's a mind shift that had to take place in my mind. It wasn't like, well, hopefully it will happen, or, we'll see what happens. No, this is going to happen. This will happen, and I will walk this out, and I will fight till the bitter end until this is done. And what I would say is, don't expect it to be easy. As a matter of fact, get that out of your mind. Do not even look for an easy road, because if it's an easy road, then the victory is not worth it. There needs to be a struggle. And so embrace the struggle. That's going to help you whenever those days when you're discouraged and you're frustrated and you cannot see how this is possibly going to come to be. When you've embraced the struggle and you know what, nope, this is part of the journey. This is what's going to make the victory even sweeter. So embrace the struggle. Don't look for an easy road. And then the practical, for me, very practical. Make yourself a chart. Put a picture on there of the car or the director's suit. I had on my screensaver. My director had sent me a picture of me in the purple suit. And I put that on my screensaver. So every time I picked up my phone, that's what I was looking at, because that was my goal. Make that chart. Put your women on there that you have, and then leave the blank spaces, and then pray over that thing. If you're a woman of faith, you know that God is walking this out with you, and He's already. I remember hearing it, and I just saw it come to fruition that God's already placed the women in front of you that you haven't even met yet, and then perhaps you've already met some of the women. He's going to resurrect them and bring them back into your life. It truly is a faith journey, and it is an amazing journey if you're just willing to embrace the fact that it's not going to be easy, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because what it does is it refines you, and it brings you across that finish line with so much joy in your heart that you accomplished a big goal. And so don't quit. Just do not quit. Refuse to quit. Fight until the last minute. Honestly, I had to fight until 10 minutes till midnight, because some things that had happened at the very last minute that I wasn't, sure of, to reach my goal and to cross that finish line. But we did it. And it's just an amazing feeling when you cross that finish line and you realize, to me it's like running. You run that marathon and you're done, and you're like, oh my goodness, that was hard. And about 3 miles away I wanted to quit, but I didn't do it. And it's a powerful feeling. So just keep walking it out in faith and do not quit.
Thank you, Susan. Andrea, thank you so much for sharing with us. I hope it was beneficial for everyone. You guys have an awesome week. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.